Scene script. Have you ever pondered over the food you consume every day? What if I told you that there's a possibility it's been genetically modified? Yes, you heard it right. Genetically modified food, or GM food as it is often called, is more common than you might think. This mysterious term refers to food products made from organisms that have had changes introduced into their DNA using the methods of genetic engineering. Scientists alter the DNA of crops to enhance their productivity and resistance to pests, a practice that has evolved rapidly over the past few decades. But what does this mean? Imagine your favorite apple. Now, imagine scientists taking that apple and tweaking its DNA to make it grow bigger or resist pests or even withstand harsh weather conditions. That's what genetically modified food is all about. Now you might wonder, isn't this a good thing? In theory, yes. The idea of creating super crops that can feed more people and be more resistant to diseases is indeed appealing. But as with any powerful technology, there are potential dangers and ethical considerations to keep in mind. According to an article on Expose News, genetic engineering can lead to several risks. For one, it allows for the transfer of genes between different species in a way that would never occur naturally. This has raised concerns about the potential impacts on human health, such as increased risk of cancer and the creation of antibiotic-resistant organisms. Moreover, the article criticizes the grand claims made by genetic scientists about solving hunger, disease, and other societal problems through genetic engineering. It argues that these promises are often overstated and that the potential risks of GM food are not adequately addressed. What adds to the concern is the lack of stringent regulations and precautions in the genetic engineering industry. There is a need for greater scrutiny and opposition to ensure that the benefits of this technology do not come at the cost of our health or the environment. And now you might be thinking, well, what does this all mean for my health? Let's examine this issue from a different angle, one that might resonate with our Christian audience. If we look to the Bible, specifically Deuteronomy 22 verses 9 to 11, we find an interesting correlation. These verses caution against planting two kinds of seeds in one vineyard, plowing with an ox and a donkey yoked together and wearing clothes of mixed materials. While these verses may seem unrelated to genetically modified food, if we dig a little deeper, we find a potential parallel. Just as the Bible teaches not to mix different types of seeds or yoke together different animals, so too could it be warning us against the modern practice of genetic engineering, which involves mixing genes from different species. This interpretation suggests that meddling with the natural order of things, as genetic modification does, is not in line with biblical teachings. The Bible, in its timeless wisdom, could be cautioning us about the potential dangers of such practices long before the concept of genetic modification even existed. It seems the Bible was ahead of its time, cautioning us about the potential pitfalls of meddling with nature. So what exactly are the potential dangers of genetically modified food? Well, let's delve into this topic. The advent of genetically modified food has raised numerous ethical and health concerns. One of the key issues revolves around the unnatural transfer of genes between species. This practice has evolved rapidly over the past few decades, and its implications are still not fully understood. One potential danger that's been highlighted is the risk of developing cancer. You see, when we alter the natural genetic structure of food, we may inadvertently introduce harmful elements. Some studies suggest that these changes could potentially lead to an increased risk of cancer, though more research is needed to fully explore this connection. Another concern is the creation of antibiotic-resistant organisms. This occurs when genes that are resistant to antibiotics are introduced into our food supply. The fear is that these genes could then be passed on to bacteria in our bodies, making them resistant to antibiotics and posing a serious threat to human health. Now, the genetic engineering industry is not without its grand claims. Its proponents argue that this technology could solve hunger, disease, and other societal problems. However, we must question the validity of these claims. Can we truly engineer our way out of these problems, or are we simply creating new ones? Furthermore, the lack of regulations and precautions in this industry is disconcerting. Without proper oversight, there's a risk that mistakes could be made, and the consequences could be dire. As we consume our daily bread, it's crucial to consider what we're putting into our bodies. Is the promise of convenience worth the potential risk?